Hi, this is Sugar Ray Leonard, and we are hanging out with Covino and Rich. Don't miss it.
This is why I love the job, man. It's not even a job, because we get to hang out with legends. And to our left, he's back.
There he is.
The champ, Sugar Ray Leonard!
Champion! What's up, man?
All right, guys, you make me feel so wonderful, man. Thank you so much.
I know it's not as cool as when the classy James Lennon Jr. does it or Michael Buffer does it. Is there a thrill to that when those guys announce you, Sugar Ray Leonard?
Well, I mean, how can it not? I mean, that voice and that, stamp of approval.
But when it's not one of those guys, was it not as cool? Because they were around when you were fighting too, right? At least Buffer was, right?
Oh, yeah.
And
for sure.
and James Lennon.
Of course,
Jr.
they've both been around.
I'm not that young.
Yeah.
Okay?
But
I've been around, guys.
You've had a lot of guys introduce you, though. But that's when you know it's a main event. You know what I mean? That's awesome. Welcome back to the show. It's a pleasure to have you here. I think about Sugar Ray Leonard all the time, almost every day. Isn't that weird?
Why is that?
Because you were on our show one time. We talked about the famous fight, Roberto Duran. We talked about it, and you talked about your biorhythms. And every day I wake up and I'm like,
How are my biorhythms? How are my biorhythms today?
How are my biorhythms?
And the fact that it's so true, though. It's so true. It depends on how you wake up, how you start your day. It's biorhythms. It's that moment in time.
It's like, do I got it today or not?
Yeah. No, honestly,
certain
times we have someone on the show and they'll leave us with like a little nugget of info, and for some reason that always comes up for all of us. We always say like, whether it's an athlete or a meeting at work or whatever you're doing. Sometimes you wake up and you're feeling it, and other days you wake up and this is not going to be a good one.
And you know fully well that you don't have it that day,
right?
That moment.
Well, dude, you still got it now, man.
60
years
great,
old,
man. Look at you,
dude. You don't age. You've got like the secret. What is it, man?
It's internal.
Yeah.
No, but I think it's attitude. I think it's also genetics.
Right. Yeah, a little bit of both.
My dad's still hanging in there. He'll be 94 in June.
Oh my God.
My mom's a feisty 86-year-old. It's there.
And you're 60 now. Does that bug you out though that you're 60? Because we associate with you with the boxing and the career and everything else. And, looking back, that was a while ago now.
But, when I look in the mirror, I see Ray.
Yeah.
Nothing more, nothing else. But, I'm almost like a hypochondriac, Sometimes I look down, I see a little mole here. I say, what the hell is that? All of a sudden, I see a hair in my nose that's gray. What is that?
Well, dude, I mean, you're in amazing shape. We heard you in the hallway. Everybody wants to talk to Sugar Ray Leonard.
Yeah,
it's almost impossible for him to get from point A to point B without someone bothering him.
What I find fascinating is Sugar Ray Leonard's here, and you bump into Mark McGrath. Sugar Ray, that's weird.
I swear. Listen, the first time I heard about Sugar Ray, the band, I was here in L.A. with my girlfriend, who is now my wife, Bernadette, and it said Sugar Ray at the some theater, some record company. I said, what the hell is going on here?
No one told you about it.
I never heard of the Sugar Ray.
Do you know his most famous song though? I'm curious because I think he named his band after you.
Yeah, was he saying that? He said because of
I think Mark did say that.
Do you know his most famous song just by coincidence or no?
No.
I just want to fly. Put your arms around
I'll
me,
play it in the background.
You don't know that one? I think you might know that one.
I've heard that song.
Yeah, that's him, Sugar Ray. So, I hear you in the hallway. Everyone wants to talk to you, and you're talking about how you still do cardio every day. You're still doing your cardio. That's got to add to everything and how you look and how you feel, right?
Well, for me, it's like
Right, you lifting, you got the guns too, man. You lifting. How often are you working out?
I work out, when I feel like working out. I try to work out at least minimum 3 times a week.
Minimum.
Well, keep in mind, compared to when you were preparing for a fight, like keeping in shape the way you would try to keep in shape is so light compared to how you prepped for a fight. So he's coming from, waking up early, probably doing workouts every day.
I take it to another level because I wake up at 5 o'clock. I run 5 miles, go to the gym at 12, work out a couple hours, and it's every single day. And the transformation of my mind and in my body is truly amazing. All of a sudden you start seeing like the cuts and the muscles and what have you.
And again, genetics, because I don't think I got any of that. Yeah, but I also heard you saying how back when you were fighting, you didn't do much lifting because it would make you stiff back then.
Yeah, was there a misconception then versus now on boxers and athletes in general? Because when you think back to I'm thinking back to the 70s and 80s, and guys, even baseball players, football quarterbacks, no one was really, jacked up the way they are now.
Back in the day, 70s and 80s, they didn't incorporate weights with their training sessions because they felt that it would restrict them, minimize their movement and what have you. But if there's been proven facts that weights do help.
Mm-hmm. So that makes me think about your career. If you fought now, let's say, and you were training and you were hitting the weights like the boxers do now,
mm-hmm.
how would have that affected your game, your fight, your plan, your power? How would that have changed your career?
I wouldn't have done it. No, because speed is power. Because speed is blinding. I can show you.
No, it's okay. I've seen it.
I would love to see it. I mean, that would be wonderful.
Yeah. Well, or then again, they call me Head of Stone. I don't know if you know that. Head of Stone. I don't know if you want to take it on.
You got the hard
Sugar Ray.
Mexican head, right?
Yeah, I got the hard Mexican head, man. And by the way, that makes me think of the Hands of Stone, right? Roberto Duran. A name. Is there a day or an interview that goes by where Duran and no mas isn't brought up for Sugar Ray Leonard?
Never, ever.
It's always brought up. Even if you're walking on the street, someone's going to be like, no mas, right or wrong?
Always.
Isn't that nuts?
When I went to Panama for 30 for 30.
Got to talk about that.
Roberto Duran picked me up every evening to go to dinner in his car. And the fact that we're on the freeway and people say Sugar Ray and Duran together, it was
unbelievable.
By the way, but he's on the
best 30 for 30, I think, ever.
He's on the positive side of the no mas. Now, I always think about when people are part of a legendary sports moment together, and I only bring this up because they go to signings together. Mookie Wilson and Bill Buckner. Now, Mookie Wilson hit the ground ball that went through Buckner's legs. Right. So Buckner's on the negative side of this major event.
Yeah.
You can hear no mas all day because it was no mas because you were whooping ass. So, I mean, do you know what I'm saying?
I get you.
You're on the positive side of that, which is probably better.
But the thing about it, I mean, I can vividly see that moment when Duran said no mas. He claims he didn't say no mas, and I take his word for whatever he stated. But when you do this, what does this mean?
Yeah, the hands wave. No more. I'm done.
No more.
I'm done.
Jazz hands.
Yeah.
He was dancing.
But the selfish part of me wanted to hear Roberto say no mas, that he said no mas.
Well, that was the whole 30 for 30 documentary. You go all the way to Panama so that he could finally admit to you that he said no mas, so you could feel like making him quit was actually better than knocking him out, and his machismo wouldn't allow him. He's still saying it was stomach pains or whatever, right?
Yes.
But when you looked in his eye, what did you see?
I saw frustration.
Yeah.
I saw just, he was at a point because all of a sudden during that fight, people were laughing at the great Roberto Duran. I mean, machismo. I mean, it's bravado. And Duran threw his hands up because it was like, man, hell, I don't need this.
You frustrated him.
Frustration.
And you were winning.
Yes.
Unbelievable, man. And you go all the way out there and you see his lifestyle. Did you know like how he was living and how he lived out there before you went there?
How he lived, period. Because Roberto, like most fighters, they celebrate and they celebrate and they celebrate. And I knew Duran had a history of putting on 30, 40 pounds
right
after each fight.
Yeah, but just even like think about how you live your life. I'm sure your place is magnificent. You were making millions and millions of dollars. How much money did you make in boxing?
I read that you were the first person to earn over $100 million in boxing.
Guys, I don't want to talk about numbers. I did okay.
And you got to think about
I did something that was unprecedented.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. You got to figure Roberto Duran made a lot of money too, but he's not living that way, And for me, that's frustrating. That might be the frustration you see in his face.
You're so right, because what happened with the Durans and the Haglers and Hearns, they resented me because I was acquiring more than they. But the fact of the matter was, I won the Olympics, which was exposed all over the world,
right?
National exposure, and I was on network television all the time.
Endorsements, Franklin, and everything else. Oh, by the way, this morning I just saw you on a Skechers commercial.
Oh yeah, they're the best,
right? You got the hookup. You got the hookup. You got the Skechers hookup.
Yes, memory foam. Yes, Yeah, those are the best shoes.
Still doing it.
I love it. He's always on the job.
It's automatic, baby. It's automatic.
How does that work, though? By the way, Sugar Ray Leonard on the Covino Rich Show. You got the Skechers deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Looking handsome, doing your thing. We saw you just this morning. You make a phone call. How do you get shipments all the time? You get shoes.
I can't disclose that.
No.
Man, what are you talking about?
I want to know. I want to know the perks. The perks.
The perks. What size you wear?
10.5, 11. I'm glad you asked. Yeah, I was waiting. Of course, I was waiting.
He always loves freebies.
I love it. I love the
10
freebies.
and a half, okay.
10.5, 11. About that.
Sugar
Yeah.
Ray, let me ask you this, because you said you look in the mirror and you still see the same guy you saw, in the 80s
That's
or
'cause
90s.
he looks the
and
same.
You look great.
Yeah.
Do you look in the mirror and see Usher, because he's playing you in this movie?
Hands of Stone, yeah.
Yeah, in Hands of Stone. As we all know, Usher will be playing you. You think it's a good choice?
It's a great choice. And when he called me a year or so ago, and he said, Ray, I'm playing you in this movie. He said, can you show me how to be you? And I went to see him in Atlanta. And his downstairs, he had a whole gym in his house.
Wow.
And he was hitting the speed bag, which is a small bag, hitting the punching bag, which is a big bag. I mean, he was doing stuff I couldn't do.
Really? He had some skill?
He has skill. Well,
Like
because
natural skill?
Because he's a natural dancer.
Right, okay.
He had that movement. 'Cause
Coordination.
It's all about timing. It's all about rhythm. It's what you hear. It's what you feel. And I tell you, man, he's going to surprise a lot of people.
Wow. How does
I
it
was
make
so
you
proud of him.
feel, well, A, to be part of the movie, but that the movie's about Duran, right? Is there an ego for you thing involved or no?
It's humbling. It's really, the fact that I was a part of that moment in history, in boxing history. It's like The Fighter,
Right.
Mhm.
the Mark Wahlberg
Mhm.
thing. I was a part of that history. So it's very humbling.
And
When
De
you-
Niro's in the movie,
Yeah,
too.
I was going to say, when you
Yes.
see Wahlberg, or De Niro's been in a few fight movies, everything from Raging Bull to the one where him and
Grudge match.
Stallone,
Raging
a grudge
Bull,
match. Yeah.
yes.
And you got Stallone, and you got, Mr. T back in the 80s. Who had the best, and in some of the Rocky movies, who else?
Michael B. Jordan
Michael
just
B.
recently.
Jordan recently in Creed.
Right.
Who do you feel like had some legit great mechanic, like boxing mechanics? Who looked good in the ring as an actor?
They all did.
Yeah?
They all possessed that moment once they executed a punch, the proper execution of that punch. And I was very impressed with those movies.
About Carl Weathers.
Carl Weathers.
Who was on our show.
We love him. He's one of the nicest guys.
Yeah, man. He was cool.
So here with Sugar Ray Leonard, there's a charity we're definitely going to talk about. I think it's his third appearance on the show. Such a pleasure to have you here, man. 1978, you beat Floyd Sr., right?
Yes.
Floyd Mayweather Sr. So you knocked out the daddy. How would you have done? I mean, it's an obvious question. I'm sure you've been asked before, but I've never asked you. How would you have done against Floyd Mayweather
Well, yeah,
Jr.?
But more so what the game plan was.
Yeah, what would that
Well,
be?
there's no really game plan per se because Floyd Mayweather Jr. is, he's a technician. I mean, he's really, people can't appreciate or they don't accept what he does in the ring.
But the casual fan can't see it, right?
They
But you
can't.
see it.
Right. I mean, the fact that his hand speed is so amazing, his timing is so amazing, and it's like he choreographed his fights, and I appreciate that. I love that.
See, but you did that, but in an exciting way. He did that in kind of a non-exciting way. That's really the difference, right?
He's more defensive and
Right.
counter. I was more aggressive and counter. I did kind of all of that.
Yeah, without a doubt.
He told me though. I tell you, one day I was in Vegas and we bumped into each other, and he said, "Ray, you know what, man? In my era, you wouldn't be in the top 10." He kept talking. He said, "You know what? I will beat you, Ray." I said, "I will beat you." And we kept going back and forth. And I said, "Listen, man, I beat your father like son."
10th round knockout.
I like that.
He beat his dad, 10th round knockout. And I just think that would be such a cool fight because you were so aggressive offensively and punching. And with his defense, that would have been one of the coolest fights to ever see. Now,
Speaking of Mayweather Jr., I mean, I'm sure you keep up on current fight game and in boxing and MMA. The rumors of him
With
Conor McGregor.
that
That seems ridiculous to think a guy that fights in the octagon and a boxer. I mean, if it was in the boxing ring, money, I feel like Mayweather would whoop him. No,
what will it be? Will it be boxing, just outright boxing?
That's what we're hearing.
Or will it be whatever?
Yeah, if it's whatever, then the MMA guy's got the advantage.
Correct.
But if it's just boxing,
yes.
this guy won't stand the chance.
Would you pay for it?
I would.
Absolutely.
I know. Exactly,
yeah.
because you don't know. It's one of those you can't miss it.
Floyd said that he'd want $100 million to do it.
I would do that for $100 million.
Here's what I like about Floyd fights, because you always hear about the money. It's prize fighting, right? So there's a purse involved, and I feel like a lot of times you don't know what they're fighting for, whether it be boxing or UFC. That you don't know what they're getting, and I feel like that should be part of it. Like, okay, well, if this person wins, how much are they getting?
Well, in your generation, was that frowned upon to flash the money you were making around about the fights? Because I'm sure there were some guys that talked about how much they were making, but
not necessarily. I can't recall anyone saying, "Well, I made $5 million. or $2 million." But you must also realize, I mean, it was all relative, because back in the day when Ali made $5 million, I was like, "Holy, wow!" And then I come up, and then I'm making 10 or 15, whatever the case may be. And then all of a sudden, is Oscar or Mike Tyson making 60, 70? I mean, it's all relative. It's all relative.
Keeps going.
Keeps going, yes.
And by the way, Sugar Ray Leonard, he carried that torch. When Ali was done, it was you and the Fabulous Four, all the big guys, the big names back then. And that leads us to this question. How would you compare, when you fought, the welterweight division in which you fought in, compared to the welterweight division today?
There's a lot of talent out there. But I think what was wonderful about my era was the fact that there was Hagler, there was Tommy Hearns, Roberto Duran, Benitez. There was just so many incredible talent. Guys if it was given the opportunity, they could become world champion. And then there was guys, contenders, the top 10 were, if given the opportunity, could be world champions. There was a lot of fighters, good fighters, great fighters back in the day.
A little deeper back then, maybe talent pool wise. Just deep.
Yeah, they had power. Some had speed. Mayweather Sr. was super fast. Really, he was super fast. He just unfortunately had bad hands. He really couldn't hit that hard.
Who do you like watching? I know you keep close to it. You're doing your analysis and stuff like that. Do you like the Keith Thurmans, the Danny Garcias?
I love Keith Thurman. I love the way Keith and the way he thinks, the way he's so confident, which borderlines cockiness, but that's cool. I was the same way, and I just like his heart. There's a lot of guys out there who.
But the bigger guys, like the Triple Gs, does he excite you? Gennady Golovkin, or are you a Canelo guy? Is this fight going to happen?
I like Canelo. That class there within itself can make exciting fights if they fight each other.
Wow. Sugar Ray Leonard here on the show. And like I said, you've been here before. I told a story, just to flash back a little bit, about how I met him in Rockefeller Center when I was a little kid, and my mom stopped everybody. We were taking pictures, and you took a walk with me, and I was a little kid, and my mom had no film in the camera.
No, are you serious, man?
Yeah, and then I finally got that pic and finally got you back on the show, but I never forgave my mom for that, man. I was like, how could you blow that moment?
When did you realize there was no film?
Oh, when we got home. There was heartbreaking, man. It was heartbreaking as a kid.
Devastating.
I never forgave my mom until I had you on the show. But I don't think I asked you this. You're doing your thing, 70s, 80s. You're getting ready for the big fight. Like you said, crazy names, legendary names. Hearns, Hagler, all who you beat. Duran, you beat them all.
Yeah.
What was getting you hyped up before the fight, like music-wise? Or was it something mental? Like, what were you thinking about? And what was the soundtrack to that part of your life?
My Prerogative.
Some Bobby Brown?
Yeah. But that was really? That was actually later. That was later.
But that was your shit, though, right?
Yeah, really, because
okay.
Because people, all of a sudden, everyone said, "Yeah, you shouldn't fight. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't." It's my prerogative.
That's right.
But I was never really outspoken or rude or insulting to anyone. I try not to be, and I did my own thing. If I believe I can beat you, I go for it.
Yeah, getting him hyped up.
Yes.
He's getting the eye of the tiger right now. You said you were always a quiet guy. I was reading how your mom said you were always a quiet kid.
Yes.
And she never had any problems with you. So then where do you get this urge to kick ass?
I don't know. And I started boxing when I was 9. Kid punched me in the nose. I quit that same day. Came back when I was 14. I put the gloves on.
How'd you get in the gym in the first place?
My brother Roger introduced boxing back to me again. And I put the gloves on, and all of a sudden I found boxing. Boxing found me, or we found each other.
And that was it.
And that was it. It was like, this was meant to be.
And you were kind of, it was meant to be. You were born to be that. Born to be a boxer. Born to be a fighter. Sugar Ray Leonard on the show.
Besides being one of the greatest boxers of all time, a boxer that defined our childhood, you have a sweet nickname. And it goes back to an assistant coach at the Olympics that said, "You're sweet as sugar." Is that the true story?
Sergeant Tom Johnson, the late Sergeant Thomas Johnson, who was the assistant coach of the 1976 Olympics. And he told me, because I was crying because I lost in the quarterfinals of the 72 Olympic trials. And he walked back there. He said, "Sugar man, listen, you'll be more experienced and you'll be ready for 76. And he was so right. He was on.
Wow. And that's a guy that said, "You're sweet as sugar."
That's
Sugar Ray Leonard.
Uh-huh.
Wow. 76, by the way, the Olympics where you won gold. Also the Olympics where Bruce Jenner won gold.
Bruce Jenner won gold.
Have you, I mean, he, in the news, obviously, with the whole transformation to Caitlyn, have you talked to Caitlyn Jenner, or have you talked to Bruce in years, or was that just a friendship from back in the day, the Olympic camaraderie?
We're still friends, but I've yet to see Caitlyn.
Wow.
I'm thinking about your life. And again, 76, Caitlyn Jenner, to all the people you've met along the way, even today, watching you in the hallway, talking, like I said, to Sugar Ray. We go to your house, right? Let's say we go to your house. I'm not inviting myself, but let's say we go. Okay?
He wants Skechers. He wants to go to your house. This guy wants a lot.
Yeah. We go to your house. What are some of the cool pictures we see of people you met along the way? Do we see you with other fighters, other celebrities?
With, presidents?
Obviously family, but what do we see?
You will see a photo of me on the golf course with President Clinton.
Oh, that's cool.
You will see me standing in his home of Nelson Mandela.
No way.
And you will see a photo of me and Muhammad Ali.
These are great photos.
And you'll see a photo of me and my dad, Cicero.
So that's
great,
a little bit of everything. Family, and people you met along the way.
People who I looked up to and were my motivation.
Speaking of motivation, what motivates you now? What fires you up the same way boxing did? Is it watching other fighters? Is it calling a fight? I know the charity stuff, giving back, which we're going to get to, but what still drives you now?
I just want to continue to move upward. I just want to explore. I still want to explore. I want to find out what's beyond that wall. Get over that wall.
In life, like spiritually, or
both. Spiritually, and
because I imagine you've seen a lot of things and you've been to so many places, right? So are there other places to explore?
This is a very good question, because it's where I've been and what I've had and what I've experienced has been incredible. But now I want to be able to just celebrate or appreciate just the simple things in life. Being able to walk on the beach with my wife or my kids. Just being able to go to a movie, go to have dinner at a restaurant.
Right.
A nice, quiet dinner. It's just little things, man, that we take that I was taking for granted.
Let me ask you, towards the end of your boxing career, it's always, as fans, right? I hate more than anything when you see the heroes you grew up watching and it's just over.
Right.
For a football player, it's when these are 1,000-yard rushers, and all of a sudden they can't get past the line of scrimmage. There's baseball players that are 300 hitters their whole life, and then all of a sudden they just lose that timing. Your last couple fights, were you in denial of that, or do you think you still because I know it's probably hard for.
That's a good question too, and that's what makes it or made us who we were. We believed in ourselves, and even though it seems like disastrous, and more than likely it is disastrous, we push the envelope because we still believe we can win at some point, win that fight. The comebacks I made were ill-advised. I knew that if I wasn't 100%, that I would get hurt, possibly get hurt. And I went back, kept going back, but I was going back for not, thank God, for financial reasons. I went back because I felt safer in the ring because I was starting to drink a lot more, but became more of an alcoholic. I was doing drugs. I mean, I did things that were devastating to my body and to my mind and to my life. So I went back into the ring to be safe again. But then again, it's still dangerous in that ring. It's not. You don't play boxing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't play boxing.
Is it true that the partying, that the stuff you were doing kind of gave you a false confidence, that same sort of confidence that you had when you were in the ring, and that's kind of why you turned to it?
No, the reality, I knew that I was pushing the envelope. I knew that. I mean, it's really common sense because at a certain point, you become, I mean, it's all in all due respect, civilized. Because to be a fighter, you have to have that killer attitude. You got to be able to train. You have to want it that bad. And if you want it for some other reason, you won't succeed. And I knew that. I looked in that mirror again, and I didn't see Sugar Ray Leonard. I saw another guy.
Right,
wow.
Right.
You know, I don't know your relationship with Mike Tyson, who was here recently. It was great to finally get to meet Mike Tyson.
That's fantastic.
But I feel like his career is one of those that was sad to fans because he even admitted in the ring, like, I'm just not. I don't want to. I'm doing this for the money. I'm not even. I don't have that desire anymore. And that was that. I think that was heartbreaking to a lot of fans.
I love and respected Mike
for that honesty.
Because we as fighters, it's hard to divulge that personal. Yes, to say that. I mean, man, I didn't have it. I know it's such a lonely period, a lonely moment, a lonely time, a lonely place to be, and I wish that upon no one.
You're saying when he's talking, there's so many things going through my mind. Here was Sugar Ray Leonard on the Covino and Rich Show talking about the comebacks. I'm thinking, when you fought Donnie Lalonde later in your career. And I remember as a kid, like, Donnie Lalonde, he's weak. Sugar Ray Leonard's going to whoop his ass. And sure enough, you did. But I watched that fight recently, and I'm like, yo, man, that guy brought the fight until you stopped him.
Listen to me. He hurt me so many times.
Oh, my God.
I mean, he had me knocked out. And thank God it was just my heart and my intestinal fortitude that brought me back.
What an amazing fight that is when you watch it, like, again, you know what I mean? When you watch it from an adult perspective to see how you battled back. And then you talk about your last few fights, you lost to Hector Camacho, right? So I'm thinking of that. Your last fight was with Camacho, right?
Camacho, yes.
Right, a TKO or something like that. I'm thinking, Hector Camacho, he's no longer with us. Macho time. He's gone. I feel like all the guys you came up with, most of them, are troubled guys. Duran and Camachos and all these guys. Did you ever feel like you were different from them? You seem like you're such a grounded guy to be caught up in that world.
I wasn't totally grounded.
No,
I mean,
but you came across that way though.
But I came back. I mean, I put things eventually into perspective, and you know what? It's hard to beat yourself. The only person that can beat you is yourself.
Right.
But the only person that could correct you or can correct you is yourself. You have to surrender. And once a guy surrenders, which is not easy, I say that to everyone, it's not easy to surrender. And you show a bit of humility to yourself, towards yourself.
And when you hear a guy like Camacho is no longer here, a guy you battled with, a guy I'm sure you've seen for years.
We're friends. Right. We're friends.
What is that like when you hear that news? You're just like, ugh.
It's devastating, man. Emotionally devastating.
Because you are connected when you share that experience with somebody, right or wrong.
Without question.
Right.
I mean, hey, I love Hector Camacho. I mean, we were pals, we were associates, and it was very sad. It was so sad to hear that what happened to him.
Yeah. Macho time.
Yeah.
Macho time.
Sugar Ray Leonard is here on the show. Biorhythms are good. Feeling good today.
And you got the Sugar Ray Leonard Foundation. Let's talk about this. So this is the 7th annual Big Fighters, Big Cause, and that's Wednesday, May 25th.
Yes, at the Ray Doby Ballroom here in Hollywood. The great thing about it, man, I've always had a great corner throughout my boxing career, and I have a great corner here with B. Riley and Company. I mean, my friends are coming to support me, my family's coming to support me, and this is something that I take very personal because it's about helping others. Because I made a huge impact in the boxing ring, now I can make that same impact.
Right, you were blessed.
Yes.
Right, so you got to give back.
Give back.
I was thinking that when you were talking too before. I'm like, here's a guy who's had such a fortunate and blessed life. You must sometimes feel like, why me? Why did I get this?
I know.
So you feel like you have to give back sometimes, no?
Naturally, I give
Naturally.
back. Yeah, I mean, my parents, they raised us to give back, to make a difference in someone's life, and to have been blessed in so many ways that we take for granted. To give back is priceless, man.
And that's what it's all about. And where could people, let's say, listening, give back if they can't make the event?
How can they help
out?
How can they help out with the Sugar Ray Leonard Foundation?
At sugarrayleonard.com.
sugarrayleonard.com.
Correct.
And you can hit him up at Sugar Ray Leonard on Twitter and Instagram. You're active on that, right? We see you posting all the time.
Yes, I post myself sometimes.
Right. And, before you go, man, I just want to ask you, how excited are you to see this movie finally? And is this going to be a big deal, man? Because I don't think a lot of people know about it. De Niro's in it. Again, Usher's playing you. Who's playing Roberto Duran? Do you know that guy or no? He looks good.
Edgar.
Oh, shit. What's his name?
Edgar Ramirez.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Ramirez, yes.
Edgar Ramirez. It looks good, man. Is that going to be wild for you to look back and see this play out before your eyes?
If he says no mas.
Yeah, if he
make him say no mas.
Wait, you don't know? Are they going to make him say it or not?
No. I'm being facetious.
Oh, man, he has to say it. We all know he said it.
We all know.
he said it. We all know he said it. He doesn't have to admit it. We all know he did. You're always welcome on the show, man.
Thank you so
much. It's always
much.
a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Can I take that punch?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Okay, give that punch.
Give that punch. Head of stone right here, man. It's the great Sugar Ray Leonard.
All right, guys.